Well folks, it's time for the last build already in Special Projects Week for Forza Horizon 5. I am getting over a cold, as you can hear, so my voice is a bit and this particular vehicle is of course a legend within the world of rally, and certainly for many of us on the channel who have been playing Gran Turismo for many years it is as well. Now for the livery on this one I opted to showcase a member of the community rather than doing it myself. Of course, a ton of people have done liveries for this particular version or variants of the rally idea, so you don't necessarily have to go for this one, but I have put the tune code and the livery code, of course the tune from myself, the livery from the player. So if you do want to make it look exactly like this, and you can't be bothered to fit all the parts yourself and everything, if you fit those two things, it will be exactly the same as my car. So if you do prefer to do it yourself, maybe have a few variations on parts, then of course that is where this comes in. Now the only unfortunate thing about this particular build, because just for the fun of it I'm going to use Gran Turismo as a reference for the spec on the car. In particular the horsepower is spot on to what it should be. Unfortunately though, if I recall correctly, we can't make it quite light enough, which is kind of ironic. You wouldn't have thought that would be a problem for a Peugeot 205, but it's not quite light enough, which is a bit of a shame. Now, as far as the actual parts, you want to keep your standard motor. You don't need the rally swap. You do, of course, want to keep the standard four-wheel drive or all-wheel drive as well. As far as the aero, technically, you can kind of replicate a couple of different variations of the Peugeot 205 in rally form, more of a Pikes Peak style, which we might actually do in a future episode. If I recall correctly, though, the reason why I opted not to do the Pikes Peak and to do this instead is because you can't make it quite powerful enough for the Pikes Peak variation. So don't hold your breath for that one, but it is a possibility. Likewise for the rear wing, you've got the crazy big Pikes Peak wing as well, so of course for the Group B you don't need that. We do have the upgraded rear bumper, where it has the nice double mud flaps, because of the doubling up on that one. For the side, well, speaking of the doubling up, that actually adds the mud flaps as well, so you could go without those, I guess, if you wanted to. And then you do have the optional side skirt as well, but personally I prefer to have the mud flaps and just the smoothed out look with the extra ground clearance, that's the word I'm looking for. And then as far as the top, we've got the modified bonnet. Again, you do have a couple of different options there. You've got your roof scoops, you've got the spotlights. I could see some people preferring that kind of setup. And of course that's where the element and the improvement of doing the tune yourself rather than downloading it does come in. As far as the tyres, fairly surprisingly we've got the off-road tyres, not the like off-road racing big old chunky ones, but we do have the rally tyres. As far as the width, we've got max on the front, max on the back, standard wheels, so in other words the Peugeot Steelies. As far as the motor itself, you want your race intake. We've got the standard, standard fuel system, and then going into the ignition, that is race spec, valves are race spec, the cam, unsurprisingly, of course, is race spec. For the exhaust, likewise. For the displacement, that is standard. One of the things I wanted to do was keep it to the 1.8 litre, as it should be, if at all possible, at least. The race pistons, of course. For the turbo, that is upgraded. I've gone for the anti-lag as well. You don't have to go for the anti-lag if you are building this yourself. You could just go for the race turbo, but I like to have the anti-lag because it is a rally car and it kind of suits the vibe. For the flywheel, of course, that is race spec. And for the intercooler, we actually haven't upgraded that. You might be thinking, well, why not? It gives you more power. Well, because, like I said, we're using GT6 for the numbers, which is 449 horses, and that bumps it a bit higher. There's really no reason why you don't have to do that, though, so if you don't care about sticking to those numbers, of course you could just do that anyway. I know some of you like to use these builds more as like a basis for just winning races, rather than replicating a car, so if you want to do that, by all means. We've got the racing brakes as far as the suspension. Unsurprisingly, we've got the off-road setup. For the anti-roll bars, front and rear, of course, a racing spec. We actually don't have the race roll cage because, again, on weight, you want it to be as low as possible, and it's still too high, so I've opted not to do that. Like I said, you could do that if you want to. As far as the weight, that is reduced. Kind of surprising that it's still over 1,000 kilos, to be honest. As far as the clutch, the transmission, all of that, of course, is upgraded. We've got the race transmission. We've got the race driveline. As far as the diff, I've got the, again, unsurprisingly, rally diff setup. And that is it for the parts. Now, of course, if you do decide to do this yourself, or maybe you went for like the side skirts instead of the mud flaps, and you've got maybe the different rear wing, or whatever the case may be, maybe spotlights, then of course we get to the good stuff here. So 2.7 seconds to 60, that's probably not far off what the real car would have been, to be honest. Just over 6 seconds, or just under 6.5, I guess technically, to 100, and what is it? 183 miles an hour. So not bad at all for a rally car. A bit too quick, probably, compared to real life, but not bad in the game. As far as the gearbox, we've got a final drive of 4. Then for the individual gears, 4.1, 2.6, 1.85, 1.4, 1.1, and 0.85. For the alignment, 2 degrees of negative camber on the front. A little bit of negative on the rear with 0.5, 0.5 out on the front toe, no toe on the rear, 6 degrees of caster. As far as anti-roll, 30 and 40. Springs are on 50, 45 and the highest ride height. Dampers 5, 6, 7 and 8. Aero is surprisingly and very strangely non-adjustable. For the brakes, I've opted to go 51%. In favour of the front end. You don't have to necessarily change that, but just a little bit of an improvement on the stopping distance. As far as the diff, it's marked there as, well, I don't know why, but occasionally that glitches out. So it's close enough to 30%, but sometimes, I don't know about you guys, but sometimes mine glitches around 30% where it doesn't quite want to do it. It like skips from 29 to 31, but apparently now it's gone back into where it should be. So 30%, in other words, all round there, and a 60% front, or a 60% rear bias, I should say, on the torque split. So that's it for the build, that's it for the visuals, that's it for the tune. Now, of course, we need to jump out on the dirt and show you what it can do. Now, as you would assume from a Peugeot 205, it would be quite difficult for it to end up being a bad car, certainly off-road, and this one, I will say, is very, very fun, not least of which as a throwback and an homage for, in the case of many of us, probably your first introduction to this in Gran Turismo, being back around Gran Turismo 4. It was hugely fun to drive, always had the nice all-wheel drive advantage over the Renault 5, one of its closest rivals. I will probably do the Renault for those who are curious in future as well. Probably don't expect quite so much from that car because it is rear-wheel drive and less powerful, but that's it for this particular build. This is definitely a machine which can win rally events. It's, to be honest, really good on the road as well. It's a really solid mix of both if you do want to use it. It's not too high in S1, which could seem like a bit of a downside. If, like I said, you want to rework this into your own build, you could absolutely do something like a rally motor swap. If you do restrict that and modify it, you're looking at about 680 horses. So, I mean, yeah, you could turn this into more of a monster if you wanted to, use it as a replica, whatever you want to do. Check out the playlist right below in the video description for all of my other special projects and tunes and speed builds within Forza Horizon 5, and of course plenty of Gran Turismo content on the channel as well, if you also play both. That's it for this particular week of special projects in Horizon 5. I'll see you again in future for more, and thanks for watching.